Have you ever woken up with a strange, unsettling feeling? The sense that the life you've been living might not truly be your own? That every decision you've made, every belief you hold dear, and even your deepest desires may not have come from you at all, but from the world around you? Think about it for a moment. How much of who you are is genuinely you, Shrem? And how much is a reflection of what others have expected you to be? How often do you catch yourself playing a role, following a script written by society, by your family, or by the quiet fears that whisper in the back of your mind? Today, we're going to explore one of Carl Jung's most profound ideas, the notion that real life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. But what does that actually mean? Is it simply about becoming self-aware? Or is there something deeper, something transformative, waiting beneath the surface? Stay with me, because as we begin to uncover the hidden forces that shape who you think you are, you'll start to understand why so many people never truly meet their real selves, and how you can finally break free. The final realization we'll uncover is perhaps the most powerful of all, one that can completely change not just how you see yourself, but how you move through the world. Carl Gustav Jung was a pioneer in the field of depth psychology, a man who ventured far beyond conventional ideas of the mind to explore the vast, unseen layers of human consciousness. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Jung didn't believe that mental health was simply about fitting into society's standards. To him, psychological growth was a journey, a process he called individuation, the path toward becoming your truest, most authentic self. But here's the truth. Most people never take that journey. They live their entire lives confined within a version of themselves built from the outside in. They follow expectations, rarely stopping to ask whether the life they're living actually aligns with who they truly are. They chase validation, approval, and success, mistaking these things for happiness. Yet deep inside, there's a quiet restlessness, an unshakable sense that something is missing. Jung believed that real life begins the moment we stop running from ourselves. But before we can talk about finding who we truly are, we need to understand what keeps most people from ever doing so. From the instant we're born, we're conditioned, given names, identities, and roles. We're taught what's acceptable, what's rewarded, and what's not. This conditioning is so gradual, so subtle, that most of us never think to question it. We adapt, we conform, and slowly we begin to hide the parts of ourselves that don't fit the mold. Think back to when you were a child. Were there moments when you expressed yourself freely, only to be told to calm down, to be realistic, to stop being too much? Maybe you were told certain emotions or dreams were inappropriate, so you learned to tuck them away, to hide them where no one could see. And in doing so, you began to build what Jung called the persona, the mask you wear to face the world. This mask helps you function in society. It helps you fit in, build relationships, and gain acceptance. But there's a danger. The more you identify with this mask, the more you lose touch with who you really are. And beneath that mask lies something equally powerful and often feared, the shadow. If the persona is what we show the world, the shadow is what we keep hidden from it. Our fears, unspoken desires, vulnerabilities, and even our unrealized strengths. But here's the thing. The shadow doesn't disappear just because we ignore it. It continues to operate in the background, shaping our reactions, our thoughts, and our choices. Have you ever felt an intense dislike for someone and couldn't quite explain why? Or been triggered by a behavior in someone else that hit a nerve you didn't understand? Jung suggested that these reactions are often mirrors, reflections of something within ourselves we haven't yet faced. What if the parts of yourself you've rejected aren't your enemies, but the missing pieces of your wholeness? Jung's great revelation was this: psychological growth isn't about getting rid of the shadow. It's about integrating it, facing the parts of yourself you've denied and making peace with them. Because when you do, you unlock something extraordinary: genuine power, authenticity, and freedom. And that's where the real journey begins. Are you ready to face who you truly are? To break free from the illusions that have shaped you? Because what comes next might just change the way you see yourself forever. Most people move through life convinced they already know who they are. They define themselves by their name, their job, their culture, or the story of their past. But what if I told you that this idea of you, the one you hold on to so tightly, is just the surface? That beneath it lies something far deeper, far more complex, and infinitely more alive? Carl Jung believed that within every human being exists a vast inner world, an ocean of forgotten memories, suppressed feelings, hidden desires, and untapped potential. And the key to truly finding yourself isn't about building a new identity. It's about uncovering what's already buried inside you. Take a moment to reflect. Have you ever felt a quiet, unexplainable longing, as if something greater is calling from within you? A sense that there is more to life and to you than what you're currently living. That feeling isn't your imagination. It's the voice of your unconscious mind, inviting you to awaken. Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating all aspects of who we are, the light and the dark, the strengths and the flaws, the conscious and the unconscious. True fulfillment, he said, doesn't come from conforming to expectations. It comes from embracing every part of ourselves, even the ones we've tried to forget. But before we can integrate those parts, we have to face them, son. And that's where most people stop. Because facing yourself can be deeply uncomfortable. It forces you to look at the traits, fears, and beliefs you've spent years avoiding. It asks you to question the stories you've told yourself about who you are and why you live the way you do. Think about how often we avoid silence, how often we fill our days with noise, work, scrolling, entertainment, anything that distracts us from sitting alone with our thoughts. That avoidance isn't accidental. It's a defense mechanism, a way to keep us from confronting what lies underneath. But no matter how much we run, those hidden parts of ourselves never disappear. They resurface in different ways, through anxiety, self-sabotage, repeating the same patterns in relationships, or that persistent feeling of being lost. Jung believed that the unconscious mind are always speaking, but we've forgotten how to listen. When we start paying attention, we begin to see patterns, how our wounds influence our choices, how our buried desires shape our behaviors, and how our fears keep us from becoming who we're meant to be. Let's look at a simple but powerful example: fear of rejection. Many people live their entire lives trying to avoid judgment. They hide their true opinions, suppress emotions, or overplease others just to stay safe. But where does that fear really come from? Is it truly about other people's opinions or something deeper? Maybe it traces back to a moment in childhood, a time when you felt unseen, unworthy, or unloved. That pain, left unacknowledged, becomes part of the shadow. Until we bring it into awareness, it continues to steer our actions from the background. But here's the beautiful truth. Once we finally face those hidden wounds, they lose their grip on us. Imagine what it would feel like to live without fear of judgment, to speak openly, to act freely, to make choices not out of expectation, but out of truth. That's the essence of individuation. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been beneath the conditioning. So how do we begin that journey? How do we bring the unconscious into the light? Jung suggested several ways, and they all start with awareness. Dreams, symbols, and creative expression are some of the most powerful doors to the unconscious. Jung saw dreams as messages from the deeper self, reflections of the psyche's hidden truths. He also believed in the power of creativity, painting, writing, music, and self-reflection, as ways to give form to what words can't express. But awareness doesn't have to be complicated. It begins the moment you pause and ask, why did I react that way? Or where did that thought come from? It begins when you stop running from discomfort and turn toward it with curiosity instead of fear. Because the truth is, most people live as strangers to themselves. They follow paths chosen for them, and they hide their true feelings trying to fit in, never realizing that the freedom they're searching for lies in accepting everything they are. But you don't have to live that way. You have the power to strip away the illusions, to let go of the layers of fear and conditioning that have kept you small, and to finally step into the fullness of who you were meant to be. And in the next chapter, we'll go even deeper. We'll explore the ancient psychological patterns that live within you, the archetypes, hidden blueprints that shape your identity, your relationships, and your destiny. Because understanding them might just change the way you see yourself forever. If discovering yourself were as simple as deciding who you want to be, everyone would already be living in perfect alignment. But as we've seen, the process is far more intricate. It's not just about choosing your identity, it's about uncovering the forces that have shaped it, confronting the parts you've hidden, and weaving them together into a single, authentic whole. But why do we keep repeating the same mistakes, feeling drawn to the same desires, fears, and emotional patterns, even when we want to change? Carl Jung offered a fascinating answer. He believed that deep within the psyche, there exist universal patterns, timeless psychological blueprints that influence how we think, feel, and act. He called them archetypes. Archetypes are ancient symbols, collective images and energies passed down through humanity's shared unconscious. They're not limited to individuals. They live in all of us. And whether we realize it or not, these patterns are constantly at play, shaping our identity, our relationships, and our perception of the world. Think about the stories humanity has told for thousands of years. Myths, religions, movies, books. No matter the culture or era, they all echo similar characters. The hero, the mentor, the villain, the innocent, the trickster. These aren't just fictional roles. They're reflections of the psychological forces within us all. Let's take the hero archetype, for example. This is the part of you that feels a call, a pull toward purpose, challenge, and growth. It's the voice that urges you to rise, to overcome hardship, and to evolve into something greater. But the hero never travels alone. In every story, there's also a shadow. The dragon, the adversary, the darkness that must be faced before transformation can occur. And that same dynamic lives within you. Every time you decide to grow, to change, or to step into a greater version of yourself, another voice rises too. The inner resistance, the fear, the doubt. That's your shadow pushing back. Many people make the mistake of trying to silence or destroy that shadow. They see it as an obstacle. But Jung taught that true transformation happens when we stop fighting it and start listening to it. Let's say you struggle with self-doubt. Instead of burying it, Jung would ask you to explore it. Where does it come from? Is it really yours, or was it given to you by the voices of your past? By criticism, by comparison, by a world that made you question your worth? And within that self-doubt, could there be a hidden gift? Perhaps humility, reflection, or the ability to see multiple perspectives? When you shift from rejecting your struggles to learning from them, everything changes. Because every archetype, even the shadow, carries wisdom. It's not there to destroy you, it's there to complete you. But the human psyche doesn't stop at the hero and the shadow. Jung discovered many other archetypes that live within each of us, shaping how we love, create, and relate to the world. One of the most profound pairs he identified were the anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine energies that exist within every person. Jung believed that inside every man resides a hidden feminine aspect, the anima, and within every woman, a hidden masculine side, the animus. These have nothing to do with gender in the physical sense, but rather with the energetic balance within the soul. The anima represents intuition, emotion, creativity, and deep connection to the unconscious. The animus embodies logic, direction, discipline, and assertiveness. When these two forces are in harmony, a person feels centered and whole. But when they're out of balance, inner conflict begins to surface. For instance, a man disconnected from his anima may fear vulnerability, struggling to express emotion or empathy. A woman disconnected from her animus may doubt her power to act, lead, or take control of her destiny. But when we embrace both energies, when we allow softness and strength, intuition and reason to coexist, we unlock an extraordinary balance. And this leads to one of Jung's greatest truths. To truly find yourself, you must embrace all of yourself. The light and the dark, the masculine and the feminine, the known and the mysterious. Because individuation isn't about becoming someone new, it's about becoming whole. Yet, there's one final revelation, a deeper truth that ties everything together. The greatest obstacle to discovering who you are isn't just fear, self-doubt, or conditioning. It's something woven into the very way we perceive reality itself. And that's what we'll uncover next. What comes now will challenge everything you thought you knew about identity, and it may just change how you see yourself forever. Throughout this journey, we've explored the layers that shape who you think you are, the masks you wear, the shadow you suppress, and the archetypes silently guiding your behavior. But now we reach the deepest layer of all, the greatest illusion, the illusion of the self. Most people move through life assuming that their identity is fixed, that they are a single, solid me who remains constant through time. But Jung, along with many mystics and philosophers, realized something far more radical. The self isn't static. It's not a single, unchanging being. It's fluid, ever-shifting, and infinitely greater than what we imagine. What if the person you think you are right now, with your thoughts, memories, roles, and fears, is only a small fragment of something much larger? What if who you believe yourself to be is just one expression of a vast, evolving consciousness, one that stretches far beyond your individual story? Jung explored this idea through what he called the self, not the small, ego-driven I that clings to names, titles, and labels, but the true self, the totality of who you are, including the conscious and the unconscious, the personal and the collective. And this realization is both liberating and unsettling, because it means that everything you've identified with, every label, every limitation, every story you've told yourself, is not the whole truth. It's just a temporary construct, a framework built by the mind. Here's the most profound truth of all. You are not just one isolated being moving through life. You are part of an endless field of consciousness, interconnected, all of, and filled with the wisdom of generations before you. You carry within you not only your own experiences, but the echoes of countless lives, stories, and archetypes that have shaped humanity itself. But if that's true, then why do we still feel small? Why do we still suffer, doubt, and fear? The answer lies in the ego. The ego isn't the enemy. It's simply the part of the mind that creates a sense of separation. It says, this is me, that is not me. It builds boundaries, helps us survive, and gives us a sense of control. But it also traps us, making us believe we are limited to our roles, our fears, and our past. The truth is, you are not confined to any single identity. You are a being in constant evolution. And the moment you stop clinging to the version of yourself that feels safe, you open the door to infinite possibility. So how do we step beyond the illusion of self and experience that freedom? Jung pointed the way, and it begins with 4 simple but powerful steps. First, embrace the unknown. Most people fear what they don't understand, but the unknown is where growth lives. It's the space where transformation unfolds. When you stop running from uncertainty and instead meet it with curiosity, your perspective begins to expand. Second, let go of labels. You are not just your name, your job, your history, or even your personality. These are useful stories, but they are not the whole of you. When you release the need to define yourself too narrowly, something vast and authentic emerges from within. Third, listen to your unconscious. Your dreams, instincts, synchronicities, they're not random. They are messages from the deeper self guiding you toward wholeness. When you start paying attention, you'll notice patterns, moments of alignment, signs that nudge you toward your true path. And finally, surrender to the process. Finding yourself is not a single moment of revelation. It's not a finish line. It's an unfolding, a continuous dance between what you know and what you are still discovering. And here's the ultimate revelation. You were never truly lost. The self you've been searching for has always been within you, patiently waiting to be remembered. So now the question is yours to answer. Will you keep living as a fragment of who you truly are, defined by old fears and illusions? Or will you step forward into the unknown, into the vast, limitless being you were always meant to become? because life doesn't truly begin until you find yourself. And now you know the way.